Hello everybody, this is Spartan Grown here, and I'm going to do a little video on how to set up the controller with a specific instruction for the Tarantula Borg or Borg Evo. The first thing you're going to want to do is look at your manual and then write down a few things. Open the first page, go to your specifications. If you're running on 120 volt regular cords that we're used to, these are the numbers you want to write down: 612 watts, 612 watts, 204, and 102. If you're running 240, these numbers, 277, these numbers. But essentially 600, 600, 200, 100. Write those down. And then flip to your spectrums and find the spectrum that you're going to want to run. The spectrum that I like to run, and I'll do in this example, is a flowering spectrum I really like. I can see smudges from using it so much. 49. And this will tell you here what you need to write down to get that spectrum. So if you don't want to pick out of the custom spec or pick out of the preset spectrums, you can still get it by just writing these numbers down and put it in your custom screen. So 60 on your cool white, 100 on your warm white, 25 on your red, and 60 on your far red. Write those numbers down and we'll get it all programmed into the controller. All right, first the physical connections. You want the RJ45 cable, the blue one that comes with the controller. And you want to hook that on the bottom. There's two ports, but you want the dim out, this one. So you hook it into there, and then you hook the other end into your light. If you got multiple lights, there's two ports on your light. So you'll have one RJ45 coming from the bottom of this, going to your light, and then from that second port, you go from there to your next light, so on and so on. That's how they're daisy chained, and this will control them all. First thing you want to do is set your time. Right now it says it's 7:05. And that's pretty self-explanatory. These are wheels, you just move them. It's a touch screen. 2024 is the year, month, day, hour, minute. Self-explanatory. Get it to where you want it, and then hit that check button in the top right corner to confirm. And then go to the next thing, which is power settings. We wrote down these power settings. I'm long pressing to get these screens to pop up. Same thing with the power, long press, or same thing with the time, long press, and it'll come up to adjust it. You set these 4 channels for the 4 powers that we wrote down. The 600, 600, 200, 100. I know on the 120 volt it was like 600 and some change, 200 and some change, but you can still set it at 600, 600, 200, 100, and it'll be just as effective. Now the power settings I'm happy with them. I'm going to just say okay in that top right corner. And the last thing, we had to decide what we're going to do for our spectrum. And I wrote down the one that I liked for our example for the Borg Evo for number 49. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our timer setting. We're going to set up our timer. The first thing you want to look at is this top right corner. See right now it's blue and it says timer on. If we have it like that, that means the timer is off. So if we set a timer and don't turn that back on, it's not going to do anything. We got to have timer on for it to be engaged. So let's go to the timer set, which is right below the timer on. I've already got 2 schedules put in there, and they're not correct, honestly. So I'm going to delete it. I'm going to keep the last one. Let's go ahead and no, I'm going to keep it. That's our shut off time. So that would be military time. So you take noon, which is 12. And you minus that out of there, and then you're left with 7. 19 minus 12 is 7, so that'd be 7 p.m. It's set to turn off. Every channel will be at 0%. So that's essentially an instruction to turn the light off at that time. So we have to add one to turn the light on. So I want the lights to go on at 7 o'clock. We'll say 7 a.m. is just 7 in military time. And then writing down those spectrum numbers, I'll be able to mix that spectrum by putting in the correct percentages, which is right on, like I showed you, underneath the spectrum in the manual. So for me, for my spectrum, it's 60% on the first channel, which is cool white. Whoops, that went way too fast. 60%. The next one's going to be 100. That'll be easy. The next one's going to be 25, and the last one's 60. So 25, and 60. Whoa, that went way fast. 60. Boom. So we'll say okay. So now what we have set up is at 7 o'clock, the first channel is coming on at 60%, the second channel is coming on at 100%, the third channel is coming on at 25%, the fourth channel is coming on at 60%. At 19 o'clock or 7 p.m., they're all going to zero. They will shut off. So I will say, okay, I like that. Make sure this setting is turned up. This is your global percentage of your dimmer, your global dimmer. So what it'll do is it'll take whatever you've got set in here for your spectrum, the like 60, 100, 25, 60. You'll see that pop up over here. These four spectrums are your four, or these four are your four channels and the percentage of each one. So once it inputs and turns on at 60, 100, 25, 60, you'll see that reflected here. And then you can reduce this and it'll reduce all of those. Those will stay the same percentages, but this will reduce what they're set at. So for example, if I have it set, it's easy to do the math if it's set at 100. If I have it set at 100 and it comes on, that's what the percentages will be, and that's what you'll get. But if I were to reduce the, this by say 10%, so it's at 90, then it would take 90% of 60%, 90% of 100%, 90% of 25%, and 90% of 60%. So it keeps the spectrum and dims it evenly. I hope that makes sense to y'all. So now I've got my timer set. I got a timer on. And the other thing I can do is set up a sunrise and sunset setting if I'd want to. And I honestly don't really like sunrise much. It doesn't make much sense to me. But sunset sometimes does make sense for HVAC reasons, to let the HVAC cool the room or take the humidity out of the room at a more gradual pace rather than just dumping with the power going off at the end of a light cycle. You could start the end time would be the time your lights go off. The rise down time is how many minutes does it take to get down to that end time. So right now, if I have this enabled right now, I would have to set that to my end time, which I believe was, let me go back. I believe my end time was 19, yeah. So my end time, I'd have to change that to 19. And then right now, I had it set for 30 minutes. So instead of the lights going off at 7 o'clock, cold turkey is to zero, from 100 to zero, it's going to wait till 6:30 and then gradually decrease down to zero so that the lights are still off at the same time. So if that's either enabled on or off, I'll have it set on just for this demonstration, and boom. Now I'm set. I've got a sunset setting. I've got a timer setting. My timer's turned on. The other thing to look at is this power button. This is a global power button. If that is turned off and it's red, it will not turn on. You can use that to turn off your lights if you're spraying, things like that. Come back and just turn it right back on. You don't lose any settings. That's what that's for. But I think I've covered everything except for preset spectrums for your Borg. We inputted it custom through the custom screen. If you wanted to use the preset screen, you could do that, but you'd have to leave it on this screen instead of leaving it on this screen, this custom screen, because it's going to run whatever screen you have, whatever settings you have in each screen. So you can set settings in this screen or the preset screen, and it'll run them depending on what screen you have on. So if you wanted to run just presets where you pick your presets instead of inputting the percentages like I showed you, you could do that. You could pick whatever spectrum you wanted here and run it off of here, but then you're going to have to set your sunsets and sunrise through here, which is the same way. And then the timer set's a little different here. It has just all of it on one line, turn on, turn off. It doesn't give you the different separate channels because these are presets. It doesn't let you to customize them. A little bit different. It's a little bit simpler on this one. For the on off, you just literally put in those times and say enable or disable. Okay, all you Borg users, I hope that helps you guys.